I titled this section Hyena Butter Part 2.
Oh, God. Nicole. Oh, no. Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. This week we're back with another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Rachel. So today we're going to be talking about a fun little creature that is just very weird looking. They live in South America. They have a very unique social structure, and that's what I'm going to focus on.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the Patagonian Cavy.
Oh my God, I should have known. I should have known this is where you're going. You told me South America, you told me creature, and you gave me a picture of, I don't know, some springboks or something.
It'll all make sense.
Okay. I didn't piece together. I should have known because we've been talking about cavies so much recently, just like outside of a podcast context.
Yes, we have. Full disclosure, they are not related to gazelles.
Well, why would you do that to me?
It'll all make sense. I promise.
Okay. Can I make a prediction?
Yes.
It's going to be because there's something about them that is like socially similar to them if they're not related. I originally thought it was like some sort of evolutionary connection.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm saying my prediction based on that new information. Is that they are socially similar.
They have a behavior that is similar. I don't know, they're not necessarily socially similar, but they do have a behavior that they both do.
Okay. I wasn't expecting an immediate answer. Nice. Instant gratification. Thank you.
You're so welcome. But yeah, the Patagonian Cavy, it's a weird little creature. They are a rodent, even though they kind of look like a rabbit, and a lot of their common names incorporate rabbit into them.
Right.
They are also called the Mara, the Dillaby. In Spanish, they're known as Liebre Criolla, which is Creole hare.
Okay.
In German, they're called the Papachen, which is the Pampas hare. So a lot of people are really drawing from those big ears that they have. They also have very big eyes. And when they're sitting on the ground, they look very rabbit-like.
Okay.
But they are more closely related to guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And when they stand up, all resemblance to a rabbit stops very suddenly because they go from this cute little loaf and then they stand up and their legs just kind of keep going. And they're just on these little tiny stilts. And I think it's adorable. My partner thinks they're one of the ugliest creatures to ever exist.
Well, that's extreme. Has he seen other creatures that exist?
I know, right? But yeah, I'd be curious. I want to like do an informal poll. Listeners, please let me know. Are they cute? Are they ugly? Are they, a sin upon humanity? I want to know. I think they're adorable. They are very weird looking. Like, just first glance, you're like, what is that? And it's definitely, guinea pig is not the first answer that you would think.
No. I'm also like having a problem where I have seen Patagonian cavies before, like a lot. Mm-hmm. But I still, when I try to imagine them, I'm picturing like a capybara with stilt legs. And I'm like, where are the ears? Like, I can't picture the ears. Like, my brain picture of what they are can't reconcile, like, the actual creature with my memory of what it should look like, you know?
I'm glad that you brought up the capybara, because all of the, like, descriptions of these guys, they're like, it looks like a rabbit. And I'm like, I mean, kind of. But, like, they have a very capybara face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very, like, round.
Like a guinea pig.
Yeah.
It's like a guinea pig capybara face.
Yeah,
or capybara? Whatever, yeah.
Just gotta be consistent. We'll gaslight our audience into thinking that we're saying it right.
Cool.
But yeah, they have a very capybara face, but they do have long ears compared to a lot of other rodents in particular.
Yeah.
And that's where that rabbit resemblance comes into play.
Okay.
But they're very large. They're not guinea pig size or rabbit size. They're about 35 pounds, 15 kilograms.
Okay.
And they are kind of a nice, pretty, like, gray-brown on top, a lot of times with, like, a white belly and then, like, a russet red color in between the white and the brown.
Ooh.
I think they're a really pretty little animal and very, very cute. One thing, even though I have seen these in person at the National Zoo here in the U.S., and I watched them for probably, like, 20 minutes.
That sounds right.
They weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there, but I just stared at them for probably about 20 minutes. And I never noticed that they have a little tail. It's about 2 inches long.
Oh.
And it's completely hairless.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like a rat.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
When you said it has a 2-inch long tail, I was like, yeah, that feels like it makes sense with my memory of these animals. You had me until the hairless part. I am shocked. What?
Yeah. So like they have like little fluffy leggings. Like they have a lot of butt fluff.
Yeah.
It's also white, so a really nice white rump patch, which is very similar to like a deer or an antelope. And they actually will use that rump patch as like a signaling thing, like a deer or an antelope.
Okay, like they puff it up when they're trying to be like, I'm in danger. And it like makes it extra white and like bright.
Yes. And they also use it. I don't think they have very good vision because I read multiple papers that mentioned that rump patch being a good way to like follow each other. So
just
yeah,
keep your nose in your neighbor's butt and you can make it together.
Yes.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so the white rump patch is nice, but that all that fluffy fur hides their little naked tail very well.
Gosh.
So yeah.
I want to see a picture. Do you have, should I Google this? Like how do I find a picture of this?
It's like kind of hard to find. Like I had to look at multiple pictures of cavies just kind of hanging out before I noticed their little tiny tail. Because you can just barely see it poking out from behind their fur just because it's so short.
And the fur is so fluffy.
Yes.
Oh, no.
And I say hairless. It has like sparse hair like a rat tail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not fur to like the rest of them. They also have very unique feet. 4 toes on the front feet, 3 toes on the back. And multiple times I heard the back feet being described as hoof-like.
Yeah. I
mean, kind of, I guess. Like they are very, very long nails, which allows them to run extremely fast. And their front feet they use for digging. They live underground most of their life, except for when they're, looking for food and that kind of thing. Trying to remember how fast they run.
I've looked up a picture of their tail now. While you are looking for that information, can I describe something I think will help the audience? So like you're probably imagining like a skinny rat tail. It is kind of like a blunt instrument. It is not quite a skinny like rat or opossum tail. It is like a little thumb sticking out of their butt.
Yes,
that's naked. just to help your visual there. Are you, I think I know the answer, but are you going to mention guinea pigs and how they relate to them?
So I actually have a family tree because I knew that you would ask, and
it's a special interest of mine. I'm sorry.
I
can't help it.
I know. So it's family Cavidae.
Okay.
And 2 subfamilies underneath that. So subfamily Cavinae, which is the guinea pigs, the mountain cavies, yellow-toothed cavies, and the rock cavies.
Oh my God, there's more than one cavy?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of weird little guinea pig creatures in South America. Cool. So all those guys are there. And there's multiple, so like there's 3 different species of mountain cavies, 5 different species of guinea pigs as we think of them. Okay. So there's a lot of species within that subfamily.
Gotcha.
And then there's subfamily I don't know. The Mara subfamily. Okay. That I'm not going to try to pronounce.
And Maras are like a group of a different creature, even though that word is also sometimes used to refer to Patagonian cavies. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the Maras, there's 2 species of Mara that are in their own subfamily separate from all the other cavies.
Okay.
But they're in the same family, so they're very, very closely related.
That's cool. Okay. This actually, I think, already answers the question that I had, which was like, I guess this branch of the mammal tree I was blind to all of its contents. And so I was trying to piece together, like, are guinea pigs like a very ancient domesticated cavy? And I think probably the answer is that it was domesticated from some other cavy, not necessarily the Patagonian cavy, but like there's some relationship there in the branch where guinea pigs were domesticated.
Yeah.
And guinea pigs are fully domesticated. They're not, I mean, they're kind of like, I'm sure, dogs in the sense that, like, sure, they're domesticated gray wolves, but they're like very distinct now, like a different species now.
Yeah.
So,
The guinea pigs that you would have as a pet, like, do not exist in the wild because they have been domesticated for so long and originally domesticated as a food source. And there's actually...
Like chihuahuas. Wait a minute. Hang on. That's different.
I'm sorry, what?
Don't think about that too much. Keep going.
There's not even any meat on a chihuahua.
I don't know. I heard that on TikTok one time, so I assume it's fact.
Okay. Citation needed. Maybe we'll come back to that in a later episode. But there are some, like, really, really big guinea pigs out there, like 4 or 5 pound monsters. Like, they get big, especially when they're raised for food.
Cool.
But yeah, so like the guinea pig that you have as a pet does not exist in the wild, kind of how, like, you're not just gonna find a Rottweiler running around unless it's a stray. So yeah.
And Patagonian cavies are just like a cousin somewhere on the branch of the tree that includes their ancestors.
Yes.
Cool.
But yeah, and because when you look at them, I mean, they don't scream rodent.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
They don't scream rodent in the way that I think, like, like a hare does not scream rodent, but it has, like, some features. And they're not a rodent, you know? And so it feels justified that they don't look like a rodent. But like a cavy, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah. And like I said, there are 2 species of maras, but I'm just going to focus on the Patagonian Mara. No particular reason.
Okay.
I just think they're cool.
Wait, is the Patagonian cavy a Mara, one of the 2 Maras?
Yes.
What? Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to call them Mara to try to eliminate some of that confusion, because since cavy is like a family.
Right.
And we call guinea pigs cavies and we call Maras cavies.
A Mara is like a more specific type of cavy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's subfamily Cavinae, subfamily Maras.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's only 2 Maras, so that makes them very unique.
Aww.
But yeah, let's.
How fast do they run?
Oh, I forgot. I looked it up. So I just looked it up again, and it was only 25 miles an hour. I don't know why I thought it was 45.
That does sound like a lot of miles per hour.
They're not that big to be running like 45 miles an hour.
Right.
So I don't know where I got that in my head, and I'm really glad I looked it up. So yeah, about 25, 30 miles an hour.
That's still pretty impressive for as like a 35-pound animal. Like,
yeah, for sure. And there's not their primary predators are going to be like foxes and hawks, and this little weasel guy who has a fun name.
A weasel. I'm sorry, what?
Greason?
Greason.
Yeah. They look very similar to like a badger, but they're in the mustelid family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some little mustelid dude in South America. You mentioned they're from South America. You did not mention more specifics about their range. I assume they're like around Patagonia, but...
Yes, you'd be correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be really open parts of Patagonia primarily.
Okay.
There's like really specific latitudes.
Whoa.
Latitudes go this way?
She's motioning horizontally.
I
think so. Yeah, longitude is the one that goes
up,
pole
down?
to pole.
Okay, cool. There's really specific latitudes. Like I can't remember what the numbers were, but like every website was like, yes, directly between these 2 latitudes only.
Fascinating.
But that doesn't have any, like, I can't conceptualize what that means.
Yeah,
so it
same.
did not stick in my head. But yeah, Maras really like wide open grassland areas. They'll exist in like kind of shrubby areas too, but it's going to be like the pampas. They really like the high altitude steppe environments, which are also very cold, which is a big reason why they live underground.
Oh yeah, right.
It's much warmer under there. But yeah, they live in really large like colonies.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that would make them really social animals.
Yeah.
but they're not.
Fascinating. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that really blew my mind a little bit. And so that's why I wanted to focus on their social life and how it changes as they age.
Ooh, okay. I am so intrigued.
So as adults, usually what you're going to see is a male and a female mated pair hanging out together, but like not too close. She has a lot of feelings about her mate. I will say I'm going to use a lot of I'm going to give a lot of emotions to these animals.
Little anthropization.
Yeah.
What? Anthropization is the way you say that word.
Yeah. So that's just how a lot of the research is kind of written around these.
Sure.
We're obviously giving them emotions that they may or may not have.
Yeah.
But yeah, she does not seem to like her mate very much at all. And I find that hilarious. And I'll go into more detail in a little bit. But yeah, male and female traveling together. And otherwise, there will be other Maras present.
Okay.
But they tend to be like at least 10 yards away from each other, which is weird. Like, they do live together and they will alert each other's danger and all that good stuff, but they are not social.
Interesting. Like, there's no like mutual grooming or like bonding activities. They don't play checkers on Thursdays.
If only.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really, really weird. And as much as that female does not like her mate most of the time, boy, he just loves her so much. And he is always following her. He's watching that white rump patch and he's following her throughout the grasslands that they live in.
Okay.
And I titled this section Hyena Butter Part 2.
Oh, God. Nicole. Oh, no.
Because Maras do have an anal scent gland and they use it very often. And in particular, the males, like whenever their female is like resting on the ground, he'll just like rub his butt in a circle around her and be like, "This is my lady, don't touch her." And it was described as a visually distinct marking.
Oh no.
Visually distinct.
Like to human eyes?
Yes.
Oh,
so like hyenas, theirs is I think it was black and white. And like you can see it like when they lay down this scent marking. I couldn't find any pictures of Mara scent markings. Maybe it's for the best. But it was described as like a visual thing. Like it's not just like we think of like a cat spraying. Like it's just pee. It's not really, it doesn't have like a consistency to it.
Yeah.
But this does.
Oh no. This is good information to have.
You're welcome. But yeah, he will like use her almost as like a mobile territory. And he defends her very aggressively, especially towards other males. Okay. And that's why they have like that about 10-meter space between each like pair.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So like he is just literally orbiting her sometimes with visual markers.
Yes.
Oh no. And she's like not super into him, but
she just
she
hangs
lets
out.
It happen.
Yeah. She literally just like hangs out and like multiple so I found this paper by Genest and DeBost. It's from 1974. And I will say a lot of the research on these guys is quite dated. Oh. And all of the new research, not all of the new research, a lot of the new research is just them like citing especially this paper over and over again.
Interesting. And
just kind of like rehashing the same old stuff.
Okay.
Which is strange. These papers are really robust and they're written very well. And I love the way that they're written because they're written very accessibly. So I really like them. They're good papers and we'll have them linked in the description if you want to check them out. But in this paper, it talks about how the males just kind of follow the females. And this quote just made me giggle. Thus, the female occupies the role of leader, though this is a passive leadership, so since she does not seek out her male partner when he is some distance away. So like literally she just does whatever she wants and he just follows her all day, every day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, wow. I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
I have like so many questions and I think I'm not sure whether to interrupt you and like completely derail you on this. Maybe I will anyway. How important to like her well-being is having a male around? Like, if she didn't have a male partner, like, does that affect the way that she navigates the world, or does her behavior change to like find a dude? Is like her quality of life decreased at all, or does she seem to not notice, like how does it affect her in a captive environment?
Yeah.
Because they are so commonly kept in captivity. But, also in the wild, if there are unmated females, like, does their life suck?
Yeah.
By not having this dude around? Or are they just kind of like, whatever, like my life is basically unchanged, but I just don't have like some guy protecting me from other guys?
No, yeah, that's a great question, because like we think of them as social animals and needing that social bond, and I think that they do need that. My stance on that has not changed.
Okay.
But it seems like it's really, really rare to find a male or a female completely alone.
Okay.
So if there is so they do mate for life, for what it's worth. Who knows if that's just like him just following her until one of them dies, or if that's maybe she is getting something from that.
Yeah.
But they do mate for life. They're very monogamous. Like, they will not seek out other partners, not even the male. Like, he has his female, and there was, I can't remember if it was this paper or a different one, but they were watching some wild cavies. They were watching some wild maras, and they actually saw that males would chase off males from their females, but they would not mate with that strange female. They would go back to their female. So yeah, they are very monogamous.
You mean that they would chase off strange females?
They would chase after strange females and and chase off like her mate.
Okay.
Like, the males are very aggressive towards one another. So they would chase off the strange male from his mate, but they would not touch the strange female. They would just go back to their female afterwards.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Very
That's
weird.
Super cool.
But yeah.
What an interesting social structure. I'm like picturing them as like basically bumper cars in an arena, and like the males just prevent any like mixing of any kind of like social duo with the others. Like, it's like a total social buffer from the rest of them.
Yes. And then, like, as far as, so if they were to lose a mate, they've actually been found to seemingly mourn the loss of a mate. It didn't specify if it was male or female in this instance, but as they're kind of moving around the landscape, they will just kind of constantly chatter to each other. They make very similar noises to guinea pigs.
Okay.
So they make they make little weeks, and they make grumbles, and
that's so cute.
So the mated pairs will make little weeks to each other, and they're constantly talking, so that they're getting something from each other.
Yeah.
And when if the female were to go out of the male's sight, he gets very upset and will make alarm calls, like very similar to like if they had seen a predator or if they were like being handled by a human. And they will make those alarm calls, and the females won't go towards the male, but she will stop what she's doing and like wait for him to catch up.
Will she like vocally tell him like,
nope,
calm down, buddy? Oh no.
Nope. She just stands there.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
When is he gonna figure out where I am? What an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that's so funny. Why you have the ability to just let him know you're there. Yeah. That's so mean.
It's so mean.
It feels mean from a human lens. I mean, I'm sure like from her perspective, it's like the normal way to do things, but oh my god.
But they did find if they were to lose a mate, that they will make the chattering noises and sometimes make the alarm calls looking for their mate for several days or even several weeks before they end up finding a new mate. So the bond is very strong between them, even if like you said earlier, like they're not really grooming each other. They don't even necessarily lay next to each other very often. But there is a strong bond there regardless. So
that's really cool. What an interesting little relationship they have with each other. Aww. So they will find a new partner if okay, cool.
But literally, like, I mean, not literally, but like 99% of the time, only if the other mate dies. Like they're very, very highly monogamous, which is also very rare in rodents.
Yeah.
And in mammals in general, really.
Yeah. It's a super rare thing. That's like really cool.
Yeah. It's so cute.
Also makes me very sad that she won't just like let him know she's there. Like,
I know.
he's in pain. Look at the man. Like, please have some pity for him. God.
Yeah. It's a lot. I will say I kind of understand where she's coming from. Because of this next part.
Oh no.
So in addition to the rubbing anal secretions around her, he will just like rear up on his back legs and just pee all over her.
Oh no.
Yeah, and mark her that way. And
I'm sorry. What? Ew. Oh no.
Yep.
Okay.
And if she's not feeling it, she will raise up a back leg and just pee right in his face. So
does that upset him though?
I don't know, man.
I'm getting the vibe that like he would just be like, thank you.
Yeah, hard to say. But he does back off if he gets peed in the face. So.
Okay.
But yeah, if she is receptive to him and, you know, feeling in the mood for some fun times, then she won't pee in his face and she will allow him to get closer. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get closer. Wink.
But yeah, it's a fascinating relationship.
Yeah.
Boy,
I feel like there's a lot of things between the lines here that I'm just gonna let them stay there, and I think that's fine.
Yeah. Who knows what Maras are into?
Yeah. Oh God.
And something really sweet. So you mentioned, does her life really benefit from having him around?
Yeah.
They do watch out for each other
a
lot. So it's always good to have more eyes looking out for predators.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you see a pair moving throughout the landscape together, usually it's one eating, one looking out for trouble.
Okay.
They don't eat at the same time. They take turns eating so that there's always someone looking out for trouble.
Cool.
So that's nice.
Do they look out? I'm trying to figure out like as like a broader group, because they do hang out like in larger groups of like these pairs. So are they looking out for like the larger group in the sense that they're all listening to each other, or is it just that like they happen to be so dead set on looking out for their one partner that the rest of the group just benefits from it? Or, you know, like how does that?
Yeah, I feel like it's more of the latter, where it's just kind of coincidentally I'm looking out for my girl and therefore accidentally looking out for you.
Yeah. Okay. That checks out. I feel like that's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not like you think of like prairie dogs or meerkats where it's like literally one lookout. It's every single pair has a lookout.
And they do that independently of each other. So they have like a system with their one partner, and it just happens to, I guess in that case, benefit the rest of the group too.
Yes. Yeah. There is also like the male isn't all about procreation and like peeing on her to see if she's into it. He will, in addition to looking out for her, for literally looking out for her. This quote is very sweet, so I'm just going to quote it directly. The male may also assist a female in difficulty. We observed one case of a female with partially paralyzed hindquarters, which was unable to move with ease. In order to flee more rapidly from the observer, she supported herself against the flank of her male, who approached her at such times.
Oh.
In another pair, which the female had lost an eye, the male always placed himself between the blind side of the female and any source of danger on that side.
Oh my God, that's so considerate.
I know.
It's like even weird to me that he would like realize that she's blind on that side.
Yeah.
Like that is, it's astounding to me that like they would be so aware of the other's needs that they would even realize that that's like a specific problem to look out for.
Yeah,
like,
no,
for each other.
Definitely. It's
oh my God,
pretty crazy.
Oh, I have two questions.
Yes.
One, how does he look out for himself? What does he do to take care of himself?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, question number 2. Would she do that for him?
That's a real good question. None of the research that I looked at mentioned her helping him literally in any way. So
oh, no. Girl. I mean, but that's like, you know, obviously applying like a human lens of like what like human relationships would be like, to be like, it should be a partnership, why aren't you supporting him back? Like, this is just like a thing that works for them. And also we probably have a lack of data if a lot of the research is coming from the 70s or whatever, but yeah.
And she does, I will say, she does all of the child rearing. She takes care of the pups. He doesn't really help with that at all, other than like looking out for danger. So
yeah, they have a system that works for them.
Yeah.
And they are socially monogamous. So like if he was there and blind in one eye, I'm sure that wouldn't, you know, deter her from their relationship, even if she's not being quite as cognizant of his needs.
Yes. But yeah, so it's just very strange how they are both like almost hyper social, like in their pair bond, but also not social at all to the rest of their group.
Yeah.
But this all changes when they're pups.
Oh.
So yeah, the pups, especially in the first couple weeks of life, are extremely social with one another, both with their parents, but with their siblings, and with just other like den mates.
Wow. Okay.
And I found this paper that looked at, it was only 10 pups, so it's a very small sample size, and they were captive Maras in a zoo. So grain of salt, it's probably fairly safe to assume that very similar social structures exist in the wild, because there are a lot of studies of Maras in captivity, and the ones in captivity and the ones in the wild seem to act very similarly. But yeah, only 10 pups, and it is a captive situation. But it's really, really cool study because it goes like week by week by week and looks at how their behavior changes. And it changes drastically week to week.
Okay. Oh my God. That's really cool. Yeah, tell me more.
So they only tend to have like 1 to 3 pups, with twins being kind of the norm. So very, very small litters.
Okay.
And like I said, the female is putting like all of her effort into raising those pups. And they will also den together. So like different pairs will use the same den underground. However, the adults are still like, they still don't like each other. And essentially they come by in shifts, and each pair will come by to feed her pups and her pups only for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then she leaves, and the next Mara mom comes in and feeds her pups and her pups only.
Okay, so they have like a nursery situation where like an adult is there watching the pups.
Yeah.
Really only cares about her own.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the group is benefiting from that babysitter being there.
Yes, definitely. Like the pups are always under watch.
Fascinating. So. How many pairs?
So there has been one den or warren. There's a lot of different words for kind of this group social situation. But there was one den that I think had 30 pairs. So about 60 adults, and then, you know, another 60 pups or so.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of little babies in one spot. And I just think it's fascinating. Like, usually when there's this social rearing of young, like, everybody just kind of feeds everybody's babies and like are hanging out together and like, you know. But
it's like if one thing is communal, then it might as well all be communal. Yeah.
But not with Maras. Mom will sit outside the den, call her pups, and usually they'll come out to feed, at least when they get a little bit older. But she will like kick and bite and scratch any pup that's not hers. Like, yeah, my God. It's a very violent rejection. Because the pups are just like, ooh, milk, and like they'll go to any mom.
Because they have a different social idea in their mind of like, I would like any Cavy Mara. Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like, they even mentioned like the pups, like especially in the wild, it's very common to see pups with like tattered ears and stuff like that.
Because they got beat up by somebody else's mom?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, this paper was by Ganslosser and Winnet. I'm not German. I can't speak German. I'm so sorry, but it's a zoo in Germany. And they broke down the development of the pups into 3 stages. The hider stage, where pups are underground together, hanging out. It's about 1 to 3 weeks of life. Okay. The follower stage, where they're following pups, or they're not following pups. They're following mom and dad around, learning how to find food, slowly being weaned. And that's going to be 4 to 13 weeks. And then 14 weeks on is going to be the weaning stage.
Okay.
So pups can stay with, especially with mom, for a while. Sometimes even up until she has another litter.
Oh, okay.
It really just depends probably on like food availability, things like that.
Okay. It's like 14 weeks is like a pretty long time.
It is, yeah. The time investment, especially for a rodent, to raise young, like it's pretty intense for Usually, because like if we think of a rat, they're weaned and pretty much ready to go by 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 times as long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really, really fascinating. And up until the 4th week of life, so when they're in that hider stage and they're all underground together, the pups are extremely playful. Okay. They're chasing each other. They're wrestling. They even play by themselves. Like
alone?
Yeah, with like completely... twigs and stuff.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Like
how do they play? I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, I love it. Like it just mentioned like playing with twigs. So yeah, I was just like, that's adorable.
Oh my god.
And that you don't see adults playing ever. Like they just like eat and sleep.
That's so lame.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like just the change in their sociability is drastic. And like I said, they're not just playing with their siblings, they're playing with like other members of the pups that are down underground, like non-familiar members. And as that kind of, they'll stop playing as much. They even groom each other when they're underground.
Okay. Which again,
adults don't even groom each other.
Right.
Mom will groom her young, and she doesn't really play with them, but she will groom them pretty often. And yeah, it just suddenly drops off at that 4th week mark when they go into that follower stage.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the grooming behaviors?
Not all of it, but a significant portion. So I have a figure that I pulled out here. And it's looking at specifically grooming, and they break it down by frequency per hour. So at 1 week of life, you're seeing 12 grooming sessions per hour, which is a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's mother, that's other siblings. That's all grooming sessions for one individual averaged out. By week 2, we're down to 2 grooming sessions an hour.
Week 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's almost entirely coming from their mom at that point.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. By week 2, it's coming almost entirely from their siblings. Mom is already over her pups.
Oh no.
She's like, you'll figure it out.
2 per hour still seems like a lot of grooming though. Like,
yeah.
That's, happening on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And then once you get down to like the 4th week of life, they might get groomed by their mom. They might not. It's kind of like, it's like 1 per hour maybe. Okay. So yeah, it just drops off very, very quickly.
Fascinating.
And same with the play behavior. So this one is proportion of activity. So like 50% of the time. Weeks 1, 2, and 3, you're seeing 40 to 50% of their time being spent playing.
Okay.
By week 4, we're down to 10%.
Oh, that's a big drop off. Okay.
Yeah. And then by the time they're weaned, like it's just zeros. They just do not play anymore.
Yeah. They're adults. They enter the workforce. It's like all grind and no play, no fun, no vacations. They gotta stay alive. Oh, that's so boring.
I know, right?
But they do play at least when they're in the follower stage a little bit. But just like obviously not with their parents.
Yeah, it's going to be, so a lot of it is individual play once they get out of, when they're in that follower stage, but there is a little bit of social play still. But at the hider stage, so weeks 1 through 3, it's almost 50-50 social versus individual play.
Okay.
But then once they're out of that stage, it's almost entirely individual play.
Okay. Do they ever like find themselves mixing up with other pups that are not siblings when they're in the follower stage? Or is that like fairly over at that point?
I believe that it's fairly over. So there's a lot of graphics in here, and so there's another one that's looking at. Let me see. So if we go back to the grooming graphic, it actually breaks it down. Like, is it other mothers? Is it members of the same den? Is it their siblings, their father, their mother? And really, after week 1, it's almost entirely going to be either mom or their siblings that are grooming them. The play behavior is not broken down by like who it is that's playing with them. It's just social versus behavior.
Okay.
But there's also one other chart that I found really cool was just body contacts. So them just like sitting close to each other, just like a very passive social interaction.
Yeah.
And again, that is almost entirely going to be with mom and siblings.
Okay.
When we're talking about mom, we're looking at, with the hider stage, so 1 to 3 weeks of life, we're looking at about 22 body contacts per hour.
Okay.
And almost 30 with other siblings. And then with other pups, it's going to be about 14 per hour. So they're interacting a lot. They're kind of hanging out. They're cuddling together to stay warm, things like that. Once they hit that follower stage, 1 per hour from mom, 1 per hour from father, 1 per hour from other siblings. Like, it's insane.
And that's like any body contact, or that's like sitting next to each other?
I think it's specifically more like the grooming would not double count in this.
Yes.
It's pulled out separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like more passive, just sitting next to each other.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Wow.
It's insane.
That's such a passive form of social interaction too. That's like a really interesting way to measure like how social they are.
Yeah.
It's really showing you, like their idea of social bonding, like that counts and it matters because there's so few other like social cues that you're seeing.
Yeah.
From them.
And then once you hit 4 weeks, who cares?
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. It's so weird. So then I wanted to kind of dive into like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
Why are they so social as pups? And then it just stops when they're adults.
Yeah.
And the literature, for the most part, like we're not really 100% sure. We only have like some vague hypotheses. A lot of it, so when they're really, really young, they're interacting a lot. They're being groomed. They're playing. They have really well-developed senses of smell. And probably a lot of that is just like learning who is mom, who are my siblings, who are my other like, den members. And so there's a lot of that interaction happening so that they can learn those scent cues. And mom, she usually is finding her pups by scent cues, because all of the pups come running up to her screaming. And there is some like calling that goes back and forth between mom and her pups, but a lot of it is probably scent based.
Gotcha.
Okay. And like I said, they're also cuddling a lot just because they're trying to stay warm. When they're really, really young, they have a hard time thermoregulating.
Sure.
So they're relying on other pups to help them with that. And then once they are outside of the den and they're following their parents around, they are probably starting to more look out for predators and things like that. So they just don't have time to dedicate to grooming and all these other social behaviors or play, because now they're just hyper aware of, wow, it's really wide and open out here. I need to keep an eye out for predators. Yeah, it's very, very strange. And they also become sexually mature fairly young.
Okay.
And they will look out for mates pretty soon after, like, even not necessarily before weaning, but like by the time they're weaned, they're probably also in a monogamous pair.
Interesting. Okay. Like it happens very quickly.
Very, very quickly. And like, you can't think about it too much. They're animals, but especially like lone adult males, they will follow young females that are following their mom and like start courting them very, very young.
Okay.
And that's just normal. And she will actually allow him to do that.
Okay.
Like there's not really there's not a lot of antagonistic behavior towards lone males.
The male that's with that female, like the father, is like chill with it too, because they like understand that it's not like a threat and that they're there for the daughter. And,
like you're not going after my girl, so it's fine. Like, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like they go straight from following mom to like being followed, or like what about the young males? Do they like break off and start like following other females like pretty immediately?
They will, or a lot of times they'll join up in little bachelor groups, and those bachelor groups are actually fairly social with one another. Because it's not usually just gonna be like a pair, it's like maybe 4 or 5 Maras, and they'll be fairly social with each other. So it's only when that male finds a lady that they become like just like, you are my sole existence and I will not interact with anyone else.
And also screw any male that comes too close to me.
Yes.
I love bachelor groups in animals. Their behaviors are so different. And it's, I guess, becoming really common in zoos too, to like keep bachelor herds and bachelor groups and stuff, because they realize like that's a normal thing that they can do, and they need homes and social interaction too. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is that you could keep a bachelor herd of Patagonian Cavies.
Absolutely.
Aww.
But yeah, it's just very interesting. And then I was like, why is this male so obsessed with his female?
Yeah.
And the biggest hypothesis there is that they're so defensive of their mates, because females only come into heat about every 3 to 4 months, which is extremely rare for especially a rodent.
Yeah,
again,
that's so far apart.
Yeah, and it's for about 30 minutes.
No way. No. Oh my God.
So he's on her, waiting for her to come into heat so that like he doesn't miss that opportunity.
He's like, I have like a 30-minute window.
Yeah.
Every like several months.
Yeah.
That's a total of like an hour and a half per year that he's like waiting for.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sad to me. But I'm not a Patagonian Cavy. So like I'm sure that's like fine for them. But like the idea of like I exist to find this 30-minute window every once in a while is like, oh no, buddy. With my human sensibilities. Yes.
No, I get that. It's kind of a lot.
It is a lot. But it works for them.
Yeah. And something kind of interesting is in captivity they can have up to 4 litters a year, since they do come into heat every 3-4 months. But in the wild, they tend to only have 1 litter a year, just because it's a huge investment that they're putting into them, and the environments that they live in are very harsh. So they cannot have babies in the winter; they would freeze and die. Cool. So yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that a matter of like the females rejecting the males the other 2 30-minute windows that happen in a year, or is it like a diapause situation where she can like put the embryo on ice basically until she's ready to have reproductive control happening in her body, or is it reproductive control happening socially?
I'm really not sure. That's a really good question, because diapause is very common. Much more common than I think we even know. Right. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, cool.
Good question.
After minor sleuthing, I'm not immediately saying anything about diapause. So it might just be that this one male is like getting 30 minutes out of an entire year where he's like, yay, my moment has come.
Yes. That is commitment.
Yeah.
But the commitment does come with some benefits to him besides just, raising the next generation. Mm-hmm. There actually have been studies that show that a mated male will rank higher in the social hierarchy than like a bachelor male. Though they also have much higher testosterone, so they're able to like better fight off those bachelor males. Whenever a bachelor male approaches a mated pair, he's pretty much going to lose that battle every single time.
Gotcha.
So they usually they probably just don't even try that often. At least an older bachelor wouldn't. A younger bachelor, he's going to try whatever he can. But, I'm sure they learn fairly quickly.
Yeah, probably so.
Mm-hmm.
There's a social hierarchy. Okay, what does that mean for them? Like, is it like they have access to like better grazing sites, and the bachelor male frat house has to like get secondary grazing locations or that sort of thing? Like, what does the social hierarchy do for them? As like a larger group.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It was never expressly expanded upon in the papers that I saw, but I think that that's a really, really good hypothesis, because the way that they graze is actually interesting, because they tend to eat just like the very tippy tips of things. Like they don't eat like a whole plant. They just like tip, 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 and just take like the best pieces.
That's very cute.
Yeah, so they move around a lot, and because of this like mobile territory around the females, they're able to move around a lot, and they don't have like a home range like we think of a lot of mammals having.
Okay.
Like they do, like they have a preferred area that they will hang out in, but they don't defend like a home range.
Okay. They're like slightly nomadic within their preferred area.
Yes. Yeah. But then they always come back to that like same, a lot of times they'll use the same den year after year.
Okay.
Which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, so it's more just like the bachelor males are going to get chased off by non-bachelor males, and likely do have less access to like primo forage spots.
Yeah, like they're probably trying to look for the little bits that haven't had the good bits snipped off them already by the others or something. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Did you say how big the like territory around a single female is that the male is defending?
Literally like 10 meters.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you said. But I was like in my head, like, wait, was it 10 feet or like, is it very small?
Yes,
okay, no,
yeah.
10 meters is still very small.
Yeah.
For an animal. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, and like I said, they're hyper vigilant, looking out for predators and things. So this weird social but not social thing is very beneficial in that way. And I learned a new term. Have you ever heard... Okay, so let me start with... I learned a new term. So there's diurnal, active during the day. There's nocturnal, active at night. There's a really fun crepuscular, active at dawn and dusk. But there's another one.
Tell me more. I'm listening. What?
I had never heard of this. So cathmeral.
Cathmeral. What does that mean?
So cathmeral appears to be kind of like a catch-all to animals that don't quite fit in those other three.
Fascinating.
And it just means that you're active at irregular intervals. So these guys, they sleep a lot and they eat a lot, but there's no, like, they are like primarily active during the day, but it's not like a set period during the day, if that makes sense. Like sometimes they're active at dawn, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes at dusk. So it's not regular.
Okay.
So it's a little bit misleading to call them diurnal.
Okay.
Just because it's kind of all over the place.
Are they active at night sometimes too then?
I don't think like the middle of the night, but it seems like they are active at least a little bit at night. Yes.
Like into the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before either. I was expecting you to say something that like tickled my brain. I was like, maybe I've heard of that, but no, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had never once heard that before. So
Cathmeral.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a fun word. I
It
put that in
is.
my word bank for the week. Let's go. Let's see how many
Yes.
times I can find a way to use that. Probably never, but
Yeah. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of animals that fall into it, and obviously
Okay.
it's not super well used because we had never heard of it before. So
Sure, yeah. I wonder if a lot of other animals that might fall into that category, we've just like identified a better pattern to describe it or something.
yeah, it's like, let's just call them diurnal because they're basically diurnal.
Yeah, or like let's call them crepuscular because they're like usually more crepuscular or something.
I did actually find an article that mentioned coyotes being cathmeral. And I
Oh,
was
okay. That makes a lot of sense to me because we see them in the daytime all the time.
yeah, and you see them at night all the time. So
Yeah.
I was like, huh, okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, they're active in the way coyotes are active, but like on the daytime spectrum instead of the nighttime spectrum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Super cool.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, I love it. Okay. I'm calling coyotes cathmeral from now on.
I love it. And then the last little, like, as far as like why do they do the things they do that I wanted to point out, was from this 1992 paper. If all of the pairs hate each other, why come together to raise pups? And really it just comes down to that vigilance and avoiding predation. It was found that larger groups, they pretty much always have one pair of adults at the den at a time. And that's like up to like 90% of the time there will be a pair there.
Yeah.
And the survival rates of pups are much higher in large Mara groups versus small Mara groups. So I couldn't find exact rates, but it's significantly higher.
Okay, that's cool because it like shows like there is data to back up like what feels like it would be true.
Yes.
So that we know like, oh, they are actually benefiting from this in like a material way that's affecting their survival and stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because I mean, thinking of the other secondary benefits of like, the pups have more thermoregulation with a bigger pile of pups or whatever. And like, maybe the pairs are able to like get better browse because they're not having to stay so close to the den to go like check on the babies or whatever. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And then, so how this ties into antelope. I gave you that.
I completely lost that. I was just so like taken with everything else that was happening.
Well, that makes me feel good. But I gave you that hint that they're
Yeah, what the hell, Nicole? Why was that the hint you gave me? Is it because they eat grass?
No.
Okay, good.
It's because of this very specific behavior that they do. So they're hyper vigilant. What do they do when they actually see a predator? Run away?
Mara butter.
That would be fascinating if they just started like peeing and like marking everywhere. Like, go away, predator.
If it's butter, I'm thinking chunks, like projectile chunks. Yeah.
Yikes. They don't do that.
That's nice.
That I saw anyways. Okay, cool. Who knows? But no, when they see a predator, yes, they will run away. But in particular, they do what is called stotting.
Stotting? Is that like the thing that antelopes do where they get like rigid-legged and they bounce?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So when I see it with gazelle, a lot of times I see it called pronking.
Pronking.
Stotting, yes. Pronking. I don't know which one I like better.
They're both incredible words.
They're very good words.
The mouthfeel is just incredible.
Yes, absolutely. And so Maras are very fast and agile animals. They're perfectly capable of running away from most predators. But the stotting actually has a specific purpose when it comes to predator avoidance. Because you would think that just leaping just straight off the ground and making yourself very visible would not be a good way to avoid predators. But it actually shows the predator, look how just amazing and strong I am. Look at me bounce. I am going to be so hard to catch if you try to chase me.
Okay.
So it's
yeah. It's like an athletic feat that's saying like this is a little bit of an extra challenge for you. Yes. Are you up to it? Like,
yep. And this is another term that I had not heard before, was that of an honest signal.
So I've heard of this makes sense to me.
Yeah. So it's an honest signal of their actual fitness.
Yes.
A Mara that can stot really very well is actually very physically fit. It's healthy. It's probably fairly young. And it is going to be hard to catch.
Yes.
Whereas a Mara that like tries to stot and like falls over,
that guy's going to get marked and the predator's going to be like, nah, well, I'll go after you.
Yeah. So it's fascinating and like it is effective. Like there's a lot of different antelope and apparently Patagonian Maras that do this. It's a very, very common behavior. And it's very effective. It's kind of another example of like an honest signal would be warning colors on a poisonous animal. So those bright colorations are saying you don't want to eat me because I will kill you.
Yeah.
So,
and that would be distinctive from like a mimic that's trying to like use a dishonest signal to get the benefit of something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. I love the like fitness displays as an honest signal too, though. Like that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other like examples that are as obvious as something like this, but like a lot of animals do that. And they're like, I am just literally trying to show you how much you don't want to try to kill me.
Yes. Yeah. I did see when I was looking into like honest signaling, I saw birds brought up because a bird that has like really lush, beautiful feathers is probably fairly fit.
Yeah.
Versus one that looks a little ragged. So, or it could just be getting ready to molt, but
Yeah.
But yeah. Honest signaling. I feel like it like vaguely was a thing, specifically with like the coloration, but like you were saying, I've never seen it used in like a physical
athletic
thing.
Fitness sort of thing.
So fascinating. That was the only reason I mentioned gazelles. He was stotting in the picture.
Yeah,
so,
he was.
That I said
stotting, pronking.
Yes.
Good animals.
Yes. But yeah, these little guys, they're just wandering around South America, being cute on their little stilt legs. They are actually, like, as far as like conservation status, they're doing fairly well.
Okay.
Their biggest threats are going to be habitat loss and human related things.
Okay.
In the past, this is like good but sad. In the past, their largest threats were predators.
Okay.
But a lot of their predators are in severe decline. So
oh no.
so they don't have to worry about that as much.
The silver linings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man. But yeah, and they do share space, fairly well with each other, even if they do have that like 10-meter buffer zone between each other. So they don't need really, really big patches of grassland like we think of some other social animals like gazelles needing that are like migrating big distances. So they can exist in fairly small habitats. Obviously, if it gets too small, eventually they can't use it anymore. But kind of useful. And just the fact that they can move around and find food fairly easily also means that they do fairly well on kind of broken up habitats.
Yeah. And the fact that they are doing well right now means, apart from like human influences and stuff, means that if there is good conservation work with their predators, that's not going to put them at risk.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is good to know also.
Yes.
That's all positive I'll put in there.
Yeah, I love it. They are listed as near threatened on the IUCN Red List.
Okay.
So they're worth watching.
Yes.
As many animals are. And I think that I would love to see just more like research on wild maras, because a lot of it is in zoos or in captivity. One of the papers, it wasn't like technically in captivity, like it was a large pen that was like 10 hectares, I think. So like still captivity, but like they have the room to move around and display more natural behaviors.
Sure.
But yeah, it seems, since, especially with the pups, since they're underground so much, it's really hard to get that data on a wild herd. So
okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I do feel like this particular animal for me does evoke a little bit of that sense of being disconnected from their natural habitat. Like there's some animals that you see so frequently in documentaries that it's very easy to imagine a pika, like, for example, in its natural range and like existing in the space and the habitats that it exists in. Cavies and maras for me feel like such a captive animal, and like we're always talking, if they are talked about, it's like about like their physical attributes, and it feels very removed from where they exist in the world. That is something that I would also like to see more of with these animals, is like let's put them in their place. And we've talked about like that sense of place before in this podcast, and how for grassland animals especially, like that gets so lost because like, people don't like to imagine a lush grassland the way they like to imagine a lush rainforest or something. But it would be cool to see that research for that reason too, of just like thinking of them less as a zoo creature and more of this weird orbiting bumper car park in the wild.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's all I got. Nicole, I feel like this is a really good file to add to our very serious and unbiased reasons why grasslands are the best biome. Thank you so much for this contribution.
Thank you. It's such high praise.
I feel like our argument, as promised, continues to get better and better. So thank you guys for listening. Of course, The Best Biome is produced through our nonprofit, Grassland Groupies, which is dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands. So you can find in our show notes the papers that Nicole mentioned, as well as our information for Grassland Groupies, all the good stuff that lets you text, call, or tweet your suggestions to us, and any mail that you'd like to send to us. If you enjoyed our show and want to support us, tell your friends about us. You can leave a review for us on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. We could not do this without your support. And we'll talk to you again soon. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. I will say, once they leave the den, Dad does actually start interacting with them a little bit, but
that's
not
nice.
very much. Like literally one time an hour.
That's cute.
Yeah,
That's
it's something.
cute. He's like, oh, hey, that's what you've been up to.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Thought we were just hanging out here. Like, oh. Yeah.
We did a successful 30 minutes.